Learn the most advanced recruiting techniques. Land the most desirable talent. Launch your company towards massive success. This is the Higher Power Radio Show with Rick Girard.
Creating an environment that fosters personal growth and smashes the glass ceiling. The results can be astonishing just by giving people the opportunity to learn and develop new skills. My name is Rick Girard, and welcome to the Higher Power Radio Show. Our mission: to provide solutions to solve the most difficult hiring challenges, to secure the strongest talent, to ensure your company's success. Today, our guest is Brad Hendricks, CEO and founder of Blind Squirrel Entertainment. Brad is a serial entrepreneur and business development specialist who started Blind Squirrel back in 2010, a AAA game studio that creates original content and provides full game development services to various publishers and developers. Under his leadership, Blind Squirrel Entertainment has quickly become the top collaborator for industry-leading titles such as Disney Infinity 3.0, Bioshock Infinite, XCOM, Enemy Unknown, Borderlands 2, Sunset Overdrive, and Evolve. Brad, welcome to the Higher Power Radio Show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, one of the things that I wanted to cover kind of two things with you. Like, number one, I love the name Blind Squirrel, which is what kind of drew me to you.
Yeah.
That when we actually met at a networking event, an Octane networking event a few weeks ago. And, of course, and we both have great haircuts, so you on the video screen can see that. So, of course, I wanted to talk to you. But in our talks, you talked about how really, your employees are your greatest asset and how you really develop employees. So I wanted to cover initially your story, how you came up with the name Blind Squirrel and how the company formed, and then talk about your unique culture, because I think it's pretty special.
Well, so I formed the company, like you said, in 2010. The way the company was formed was a little bit by accident, which hence the name sort of came out of that same accident. But I had a meeting with my, at the time, CEO. He told me that we have 3 years capital in the bank and we're going strong. I just put a down payment on a home, and my VP pulled me in and said, "I heard you had a meeting with the CEO." And essentially, she pulled me in and said, "Hey, I heard he told you some things." And I said, "Yeah, 3 years of capital, that's awesome." She goes, "Yeah, we got 3 months of capital. You need to see if you can get out of buying your home." I ended up calling a friend of mine, and he had called me earlier that day and said, "Hey, I need you to find some developers to go to Germany and do a project for me." And I said I just didn't know anybody at the time. I ended up calling him right back, said, "I found the developer you're looking for." And he goes, "Great, what's the name of the studio?" And I said, I haven't figured that out yet. But I think I got a name in mind, and I think it's going to be Blind Squirrel because I always seem to find a nut. And essentially, he laughed and then hung the phone up on me immediately. And I called him back, and I said, "Hey, did you just hang up on me?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "This is really serious. You need to find a developer." And I go, "Look, I'm serious. Give me an opportunity." He did. And 2 weeks later, I had Blind Squirrel Games.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's such a great story. So let's talk about, kind of that first, building that business. How did you find your first people?
So the first people, we have a local event, Beer Wednesday, that's run by the local chapter of the IGDA, the International Game Developers Association. And so I went there. I met a couple of people, and I said, "Are you looking for a job?" And a couple of the guys said, "Yeah." And so I ended up getting my first set of 3 guys hired, basically through a networking event.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then after that, once those guys came back from that 2-month or 3-month window, I ended up having a huge opportunity come my way where Brian Fargo, who owns In Exile, he had just finished shipping Hunted, and he was letting some of his people go, and I managed to suck up probably some of my best hires, and all those same people are actually still at Blind Squirrel today.
Wow.
So yeah, so all my engineering staff, the first 6 came from In Exile, so I was very lucky. It was a little bit of luck.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah, most definitely. So what was what was it that how did you attract those guys? Like, what was it about? Was it just they needed a job, or
yeah, I think it was a little bit of that. I guess I was, exciting and young, and
it's your blind squirrel essence.
I had fire in my eyes and the willingness to find that nut, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I had a vision of where I wanted Blind Squirrel to be, and Matthew Fawcett, who's now my chief software architect, my right-hand guy. I convinced him, and he was the one who really kind of convinced everyone else. And so Matthew is my right-hand guy now, and also an original founder of the company too. And so it was really latching on to that one key hire that was super important. And Matthew's personality was just perfect, right, for my style, and we worked well together. And I immediately liked the guy, and I said, well, look, I need to hire a bunch of more people. Do you know anybody? He goes, well, I've got an entire studio of engineers that's looking for a job. And so he brought some of his, friends and really good engineers with him, and we ended up having a 7-man company pretty quick after that.
So you did an interesting thing that's really unheard of, right? You actually found the business first and then built the company.
Yes.
Guy, okay, so... we have a talk every once in a while about people that everybody's out there shopping for cash so they can build their company.
Yeah.
Why not find the business first and do it that way? I mean,
I wouldn't do it any other way, to be honest. If you had to do it again, I wouldn't change that at all. That was my background, is a lot of biz dev stuff and tying, developers to publishers. So I knew all the guys making the money decisions. So finding the business was easy. Finding the people is actually more difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And so I found the business. I had business in hand. It makes hiring a lot easier because I have something tangible that I can offer them.
Sure.
Money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so...
it's better than, hey, I can give you some stock.
Well, and I ended up doing the same.
No, but I mean,
yeah,
I can't pay anything, but here's some stock.
Yeah.
Right?
I've been in those situations. Those don't always work out. But yeah, it was a little bit of luck and finding just the right key guy. And Matthew's always been, right there for me, and a key individual, I think, for Blind Squirrel Games. So yeah.
That's outstanding. So you built a core team, right? Yeah. Where did it go from there?
We just started landing. It started out small. We were an engineering shop strictly, and we started landing engineering job after engineering job, and primarily through the same client that gave me my first shop, because these guys were really good. We always did things on time and on budget, and so they liked it that we were fairly cheap because we were small.
Yeah.
And they kept giving us business. It became dangerous years later because they were still one of our larger clients, and so we shifted that a little bit over time. But basically, we just kept getting more and more deals, and it was just me on the phone. I was everybody. I was the janitor. I was the accountant. I was the biz dev guy. For all intents and purposes, I was every job that nobody wanted, right?
Yeah.
So
the guy taking out the trash.
Yeah, I did that too. Yeah, so I did it all.
Well, good for you. That's outstanding. So what would you say would be so you brought on some additional business. What were maybe some of the hiring challenges you had after you had your core team?
It was always the growth spurt. So I had...
Because it's project-based, right?
Yeah, so...
That must be a little tough to...
A lot of times we would go out and we would find the deals, and we would be, 5 or 10 people short of the project needs. And so... The key is we had the key individuals on the top typically, and the senior engineers. We just needed to find some juniors at the time. And so we started going after colleges, local colleges, UCI. We found a lot of great recruitment coming out of colleges.
Sure.
And a lot of those guys now are my senior people because it's been that long now. But we placed bets on individuals that had the right personalities, that had the drive to want to learn. And so we were hiring based on personality a lot too, and making sure that they were in the culture. We did have to hire people that were senior because we had holes. We didn't have a networking engineer, or we didn't have this guy or that guy, so we would bring people that were external and senior. But typically, we wanted to allow people to grow internally.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that kind of flows into the whole essence of your talk. But
being able to provide that mechanism is what keeps people around.
Yeah. So we wanted to grow internally. We wanted to give people the opportunity to break through the glass ceiling. There was no glass ceiling.
Yeah.
And we continually move people up. Even Matthew, we move up, and we're creating pyramidal structures, I guess you could call them. So that there's never really a glass ceiling.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Okay, we're going to get into that in a second because I want to take a quick break because we got a lot of content I want to do on the back end of the show. So we're talking to Brad Hendricks, founder and CEO of Blind Squirrel Games. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about dedication your company has to maximize the potential in your greatest asset, your employees.
Learn the most advanced recruiting techniques. Land the most You're listening to Higher Power with Rick Girard, giving you access to recruiting techniques that will help you hire key talent to build your company towards real success. Rick is a recruiting executive and entrepreneur who's been successfully recruiting in the aggressive Silicon Valley technology landscape for the past 2 decades. After a very successful stint at Apogee, he founded Stride Search in 2012. Based on a lean efficiency model, Stride has uniquely positioned itself as a leader in retained search for the most critical talent hires within a small organization. Whether you're a startup executive or recruiting professional, by listening to Higher Power with Rick Girard, you will walk away with skills to help you attract and hire great talent. Now back to Higher Power with Rick Girard.
Welcome back to the Higher Power Radio Show. I'm your host, Rick Girard. And today our guest is Brad Hendricks, CEO of Blind Squirrel Games. So we just covered, talking about the story of Blind Squirrel, and now we're going to talk about your unique culture. So, let's talk a little bit about kind of your culture, how it started, and how you evolved it first.
Well, we always try to create a family kind of culture, family environment culture. A lot of the guys that were there originally had kids. Not all of them had kids, but we wanted to create sort of that kind of close family kind of culture. And so the way we did that is we just started doing stuff together. It wasn't just like I went to work and I see those guys and I went home. We started hanging out and creating a very intimate sort of environment. As we grew is when the problems started coming up. I didn't know people. When we went from 50 to 122 in 6 months, I didn't know half the office.
Oh, that's a spurt.
We started doing things that were interesting. We created programs that actually were sort of like match a face to a name, game. And so we created games to actually start memorizing people's names. That was helpful. But we needed something more to keep people in sort of that sort of family culture in place. And so we hired it's my wife at the time. She transitioned from HR. We felt there was maybe some conflict of interest there. So we moved her into an ombudsman position. And the ombudsman, and all she does is schedule stuff with the HR department that's fun.
Sure.
Events once a week, all the parties, and just keeping people motivated and together and doing things that are not necessarily work related.
Got it. Keeping them cohesive.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting that bonding, I would imagine, was especially a challenge when you did that quick 6-month growth spurt.
Yeah. Well, now we're hiring again now, and so it's really important to maintain the culture, and so that's all she's dedicated to doing. Plus, what we've done is we've followed. I think Blizzard does this model, but they put professionals in different organizations. So we have an individual in the engineering group, and you have an individual in the art department that basically fosters the growth of the individual. So what is it that you want to do, right?
Kind of like your mentor.
Yeah, right. So, but instead of having it your boss, we wanted somebody to be external and be objective, right, and non-biased, right?
Okay, so you pair like an engineer with somebody who's in a totally different department?
No, it's just we've split out an engineer, and all he wants to do is help engineers within the group grow and be better employees. And so it could be anything, right? It could be personal growth. It could be job growth. And the guy we have in there is just his personality is perfect for it. And so we're doing the same thing in art, and our design department is growing, but it's still pretty small right now. But we'll do that there when they get big enough. Same thing in production. And so we just want people to feel like there's opportunity for growth. And
now you're doing something kind of unique, though. Then you mentioned that with kind of eliminating the glass ceiling, right?
Yes.
What is it you're doing there? Because that was pretty special.
So because of the number of projects that we have rolling, is what we do is we give in each department, art or engineering, we'll put them as a lead, and we'll promote people to be a tech director, for that project, or a lead for that project. So there's a lot of upward mobility based on projects, and because we're doing so many in a given year,
Sure.
the opportunities to be a leader there are many in a given year, and it allows us to build individuals up to be better managers and better employees. And we're very ambidextrous. We teach people how to do many different jobs. We don't just do it like a typical large developer will, is you just do this thing, and that's all you're going to do the whole time you're here.
And you don't probably get a lot of that, well, that's not my job.
Yeah.
Right?
No, a lot of people, they'll try that, then they realize that that's not who we are and what we're about. And it's better for the employees. I think a lot of people, when they first come, they're not used to that, especially if they've been in the industry for a while.
Yeah.
But once they sort of get into it, they realize, I've always wanted to learn rendering or artificial intelligence or networking or something, and we'll teach them that. We'll sit them down with somebody that's senior and understands it and said, here's how you do it, here's the framework, start it out, go learn it. Yeah. And a lot of people come out of, even though we don't lose a lot of people, but a lot of people are, when they started to compared to where they are today, are much, much better employees, much better engineers, much better artists, and so forth.
Well, you've effectively kind of disrupted the machine. The machine is, you go in, you do your piece of the work, and you become an expert in that, right? Yeah. So you're allowing them to be a little bit of a generalist, or to kind of flow into something new.
Yeah, and if they want to stay focused, I just want to do this, we'll let you do that too. I mean,
sure.
We'll let you do what you really want to do, where you're going to be most productive. And a lot of people like to learn, and so you know.
Well, I mean, intellectual curiosity and the ability, and like learning, is what keeps people there, right? If they're continuing to grow. Yeah. I mean, I get people that I talk to all the time. I've been doing the same thing for 4 years, and I can't move out of my department. I'm stuck here. But, I love it here. It's a great, I have all my friends here. Yeah. But the problem is that that's now a person who's going to leave because they're not getting what they need, in their heart or internally, right?
Yeah.
So that's great that you guys have addressed that and really embedded it into your culture.
Yeah, people are number one. I mean, look, at the end of the day, the success of Blind Squirrel Games has nothing to do with me. I'll be blunt. It has nothing to do with me. I may, in the background, nudge people to go down a way, but really, I'm a very hands-off CEO. I let my departments run their departments, and so we all talk, and they tell me what they're doing, and unless it's counterproductive to where we want to be as a company, we let them run with it. And what's come out of that, and then letting people make decisions all the way down the rung has been a key to growth, because we become autonomous at the even the lowest level. People can do their job and not worry about not knowing what they're doing, because everybody's sort of put in a hand and everyone helps, and so it works out. It works out well.
And you know what? I was lucky enough to come to your studio.
Yeah.
I got an invite last week, which was awesome. I loved it. It was really. You guys do something also pretty unique when you put together a team to work on a project. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that, because that was really cool.
So a lot of it has to do with skill sets. We'll want to make sure we put our best foot forward to the client, but when we get them together, we have the way our studio set up is very open. It's 27,000 square feet of openness. So what we do is we have these round areas, these cubes that are round in nature, and we can put, I think it's 8 people inside each round area. Mm-hmm. So what we'll do is we'll move. We'll literally get people up and we'll move them. So they're constantly shifting. So no one's sitting next to the same guy forever. Every 6 to 9 months you're getting up and you're sitting somewhere new with new people. And so that helps too.
Yeah, but, absolutely. I mean, change is...
Yeah, it helps.
It's fantastic.
My IT department and facilities department hates
me. I'm sure
they
hate you for that.
Sorry, Ron. But
I did notice one of the guys moving a few desks when I was there.
He had to hire somebody new because of the sheer number of desks we're moving. So, but we do that for a reason. It allows so this is the first step for the new tech director or the new art lead or the new engineering lead, is get his team, pick his team that he wants to work on the next project, and then you decide where you want to sit. And so there's a lot of leadership issues in there, and it's a lot of people getting together that typically haven't in the past.
Yeah.
And then it's usually a lead's new opportunity to be a lead. So you get to be in charge. Hopefully, the wheels don't come off the bus too fast, but it's a teaching experience. But getting people together in these pods, so they interact with each other. They turn around, somebody's right there, they can ask questions, and we'll put as many of the team members. If it's a 30 or 40 man team, we have to separate them a little bit by department, but that's how we do it. So
great. And now you also do an open forum thing where you allow people to kind of share their ideas and utilize some of your company resources to do this, right?
And in the past, in our employment agreements in the past, we basically, if you work on anything, we own it. And I think that was sort of counterproductive to the environment, because a lot of people weren't sharing their ideas with the company because they were afraid of losing their ownership. And so what we've done is we're in the process of creating what we call sandbox environments, and these environments are essentially at 4 o'clock every day or every Friday. What we do is we say it's open forum. Now you guys can get up and you can go use our equipment and our all the technology. Here's an engine and here's all the stuff that you need to build a game. Go build a game. If you want to give it to us and share it with us, and we'll do our best to help it get made, great. If not, that's okay too. It just gives people playtime, I think, is sort of the way we look at it. That's why I guess we call it sandbox. But it's our ability to allow people to better themselves. A lot of really great ideas have actually been born out of that group too, that we've been using for our clients and some of their stuff. And so it's very productive. It's helping us create our new IP, which is where we're going now. We're looking for funding for new game development projects, and that's where we're heading as a company. So.
Well, by the way, I'm kind of excited about, because I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it.
Well, we'll show it to you when I won't have to kill you after I show it to you.
I got to see a picture. That was about it. Okay, so Blind Squirrel is hiring right now, correct?
That's correct.
All right, let's talk a little bit about that. What type of person's going to do really well at your company, and how can we help get the word out to the higher power radio community to get people to look at you guys?
We are hiring in all disciplines at the moment, from art all the way to some internal infrastructure operational issues. So all over the board right now. The type of people that we're looking at, so engineers and art people, we give them tests depending on what level they're at. If they're super senior, we don't typically do that because we know historically who or what they've worked with, or one of our people have worked with them in the past. So, but typically at the senior to below that, we'll give them tests. So, and they're tests that we know that we're going to learn from what they're doing and how they're doing things,
and how they think, and how they process things,
and all that kind of stuff. So. So that's real helpful for us in hiring and people. The type of person, it's when you come in, if you feel like it's a good fit for you, then and it feels like a good fit for us. There's personality issues. A lot of the times, we're not. We'll hire somebody that we think's a better fit, but maybe not the perfect person for the job, because we feel like we can teach
with
that.
The skills side.
Yeah, we can teach that skill set. So. It's sort of hard to put my arm around it, because, like I said, I let the department sort of handle that, and so their requirements are always going to be varied and different, right?
Yeah.
And so,
got it.
Yeah.
So, but the core values of the company are kind of what you guys base things around. The ability to fit in the culture.
Yeah. So our culture is real simple. Like I said, if get along with others around you. At least the people that you're in the interviewing process with.
Usually you don't get hired if you don't get along with them.
Yeah, we have a very strong
tip of the day
work ethic, and basically we look for people that are very efficient at what they do, because of the sheer fact that we have a reputation in the industry of getting things done on time and on budget. And we rarely, if ever, have ever failed in that mission. And so we have a very, very unique work ethic where people work for each other and help each other a lot. So we try to avoid crunch as much as possible. I can't say that we've never done that, because I know for a fact we have. That's just something that happens in our industry.
That's just typical in every industry,
yeah,
especially in software.
I think so.
You're going to have crunch. You're going to have times where you're going to have to put in extra time.
We try to avoid it and do our best in planning, and we a lot of it comes down to us informing the client of how the proper way to do a project is, and sometimes they just don't want to take the advice, and we'll end up crunching in the end because of a decision that was made in the beginning, right? So there's been lots of that going.
Or last-minute changes.
Last-minute change, scope increases, blah, blah, blah. But you still have to stay on schedule. We're going to make it harder for you to finish, but you still have to stay on schedule. So that happens. And that's part of the deal. That's what we do. That's why we're being paid the money we're getting paid to finish and do these things in impossible timelines. So, yeah.
Got it. So can you talk a little bit about, like, developing the new IP?
Yeah.
I mean...
So we have...
where are you in that process?
Yeah, we brought on some key individuals. We hired 2 really key people that have, one guy's got 30 years experience, the other guy's got 22. And so combined, they have a lot of industry knowledge. That was the first key step, is hiring the key individuals that are going to basically run that group.
Mm-hmm.
And then we brought on some narrative designers to support that sort of that way of doing the way that we want to do things. And we've dedicated all of our best resources from engineering to artists towards that project. And so we're peeling off the top people in these groups to come and work on new IP.
Are they working on different pieces, or are they all clamoring to
like,
join
well, Matthew Foss is a great example.
Yeah.
Matthew is capable of doing anything engineering. We're making sure that he is now the engineer in charge of running new IP, because it's one of our most important things.
Yeah.
He still works with, obviously, the other teams in his group, because he's got 53 engineers to manage, but basically, that's what we do. Is we're appealing the best that we have and working solely on this. New IP is the tip of the spear for Blind Squirrel this year.
So can somebody that you hire potentially work
absolutely
on that? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you heard it, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're looking for all disciplines, because, look, once we spin the project up and go to full production, because we're pre-production right now, or actually pre-production. So once we get into production, we're going to need to bring a staff on. Absolutely.
Okay. Very cool.
So,
all right. Well, hey, thanks for sharing that with us today. So we're just about out of time for today's show. Hey, I want to thank you for your time investment, Brad, and I want to welcome you to the Higher Power Radio community.
All right.
Thanks for joining. Now, if somebody's interested in working for Blind Squirrel or finding out more, best way to reach you, or who should they reach out to?
So you can go to our website. It's www.blindsquirrelgames.com, and there's a careers page you can go to. I believe the email is info@blindsquirrelgames.com. Could be careers.
I think it's career. It might be careers too.
Yeah, careers.com. Yeah. Both of them go to the same spot.
Cool.
And so that's a good way to see what's available. Apply, even if you don't see your position up there, because chances are that you're
always looking for talented people.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah. So,
do you ever make strategic hires, like when you find a really strong person?
Absolutely.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're one of those people who's essentially in a job and you're just not getting what you need out of it, contact Blind Squirrel.
Yep.
All right. So I want to thank our listening audience for tuning in to today's show. Quick thanks to our team, our engineer Paul Roberts, our producers Andrea Ballin, Shanti Ryle, and our executive producer Kim Iverson. To listen to this show and any past episodes, wow, my tongue is not working today. You can check out the HirePowerRadio.com or Higher Power Radio on iTunes. For the latest show insights, you can follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook at Higher Power Radio Show, or follow me on Twitter at Rick_Gerard. Tune in next week, as our guest will be Peter Polydor, the founder and CEO of Ergo Capital. I'm your host, Rick Gerard, and you have been listening to the Higher Power Radio Show.
Thank you for listening to Higher Power with Rick Gerard on OC Talk Radio.